All right. We're back, baby.
What's up, guys? As you can see, we're all bundled up in the bar.
There's a heater downstairs that isn't working at the current moment.
It's just wet
And we have what I call space heaters on either side of us. Mine went out. So I only have one hat to my as in terms of ownership, ladies and gentlemen. So you are witnessing my turkey hat that I wore for Thanksgiving. It's going to keep my head warm through this last segment of our 16th installment, of the American Fan Podcast.
Hell yeah.
Talk about a little pop culture.
Yeah, taking a break from all the dark subject that we touched on last time, that huge tirade just went on.
Well, let's talk about something fun, right? Pop culture is always fun to talk about.
So, I remember mentioning on the last, not the last, but one of our episodes, I don't know what number it was, we talked about pop culture hot takes, so unpopular opinions that would definitely strike a conversation within communities of said things. So if someone, and again, I don't hold this opinion, but if someone were to come to the Star Wars community and they say that Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, was the worst Star Wars film, you definitely can believe this, that a lot of people are going to start having conversations about that, because that's definitely not the mainstream opinion. Everyone will say Empire Strikes Back is just like the king of Star Wars, what?
I just noticed that you're wearing gloves during the podcast. And we've reached an all-time low, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I just put these on this episode.
I know. You put gloves on. I have a turkey on the top of my cranium. We're bundling up because it's quite cold in here. We need to increase funding. So if you don't have any sympathy for us, which probably you won't, but I mean, if you do have a smidgen, you could donate to the cause anytime. So
well, we don't have any. I don't have any services linked up to it.
No, but just leave in the comments that you feel really bad, and we can come.
If we get enough, people saying, "Hey, we'd like to see updates on the microphones. If you want to see updates on the heaters or what?
16 episodes in, we've hit. I feel like an alcoholic. I've hit rock bottom. My name's Fletch. I'm a Libra. I like long walks on the beach, and I'm a loser. I can't afford proper heat in my barn. So, I just feel like I'm going to make an announcement at some point.
Oh, God.
But we're going to talk about something fun for about
pop culture. We're
going
to talk about stuff that...
I like this idea. You came up with this idea about talking about
it's just like
movies, original movies
versus particularly the second movie. But even there are points where the first movie will be the best, and then somehow the third movie turns out to be the best.
Correct.
And so on and so forth. But the biggest debate in pop culture is the first one better or is the second one better? That's generally the debate.
And most people would say it's the
first one
because of the fact that it's the original movie.
Which I find...
It's automatically, and that's what you have a problem with.
And that is something I have a problem. Now, look, everyone obviously is entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to say you can't have that opinion. However, I do think that there is something to be said. We can say, well, something came first, therefore the movie's entitled to just be labeled the best. Well, no. What people like about a movie is it the plot? Is it the story? Is it the filming? Is it the dialogue? Is it the acting? Everything, the characterization, anything like that.
Right.
And, no movie's perfect. There are flaws. Maybe if it had all of them were good, maybe it's not up to par, compared to, movies like Clint Eastwood movies, John Wick, or Casino, Avatar is mainly known for its effects. Not to say they're not good movies. I'm just saying, let's be honest. Most people want to see Avatar because of the effects.
Absolutely.
And guess what? And actually, this might be considered a pop culture hot take a little bit. And maybe I need to rewatch it, and maybe I'll like it better. Let's be real. Most people watch Independence Day with Will Smith because of the special effects. In fact, I remember my old friend. We're not friends anymore. He watched a YouTube video. I don't know who it was, but he said Independence Day is nothing more than special effects. And I would actually be inclined to agree with that a little bit because it doesn't have a significant, like, it doesn't have the most developed story. It's literally just Earth versus aliens. That's all the plot is, if you really think about it. And look, there's nothing wrong. If people like that, look, that's a great idea. Look, John Wick is about a guy whose dog was killed. He murders everybody. I'm a simple person, you know. I can be that way. But I do think we need to look at movies objectively too, or at least say, look, if you like the first movie of X franchise better, or if you like the first season of X TV series the best, I think there should be more substance, more than just, oh, it came first and started everything. And if it didn't come, then you wouldn't have the sequels. Now, two things can be true at once. If it hadn't been the first of something, you wouldn't have that something expand. And that's true. But that doesn't mean the first movie has to be the best. A key example of this, I remember like I've heard more debates on what I'm about to mention than even Star Wars. Because even Star Wars fans, I can talk to a variety of people, they'll say, maybe a little more than half, not much, but a little more than half will say, I like the original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah.
Or most people will say, excuse me,
a lot of people like Empire Strikes Back.
The best. Like, that one would be considered the best. Even some people might say, look, I'm a fan of Return of the Jedi, you know? Like, it just depends. Although, I'm glad to see the prequel trilogy getting more love as time goes on and stuff. But the one I get debate on quite a bit is Rambo. And that's when they said that First Blood's the best. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
No way.
Like, I like the movie. I like all the Rambo movies. Yeah. I think they're all good. I like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I like all of them. But one isn't some magnificent masterpiece.
No.
It's literally just about a troubled man who came out of the military, and he's going up against a bunch of dick-headed cops. It is a troubled veteran versus asshole cops. That's 100%. All. Now, granted, there was corruption with the police force, but it wasn't as simple as correct me if I'm wrong, it's been so long since I've watched the first one. Wasn't it about one specific bad cop that was leading the force against him or something?
It's Brian Dennehy's character. I don't know what his sheriff, whoever, but yeah, Brian Dennehy.
But it wasn't all the cops were like, oh, we just hate Rambo because we hate Rambo and we want power or something.
No, they were just
the one guy.
They were following orders from Brian Dennehy's character.
So it's like...
David Caruso's in that movie.
Who?
David Caruso. He became a famous actor, TV actor.
Forgive me. Should I know him from anything?
He's got the orange. He's the redhead dude. He's got orange hair.
I guarantee if I were to look him up at some point,
you'll know. When you look him up later, you'll know who I'm talking about.
Sure.
He was in that First Blood movie.
Okay, so that makes sense. But most of the movie is just Rambo, maybe attacking someone, and then he's just holding the fort in. Where was it? Was he in a supermarket or something, or the police station? He held the fort. Wasn't it like a gas station or something?
Well, First Blood?
Yeah, First Blood.
Well, it goes to the stage of the woods, where they chase him through the woods.
Well, I guess he did get chased through the woods, but I just remember for most of the movie he was just in the building with the gun and stuff. And again, I like the first movie, but to say it's the best one, I just if I'm looking at everything, the acting was good, the story was
okay.
But I think the story is the weakest thing. It's about a troubled veteran against asshole cops. It doesn't sound like a very compelling story.
No, it's just an okay movie, but it sets up what I thought the second Rambo was fantastic.
Oh yeah, the second one, he's like a guerrilla rogue soldier there. He's with the bow and arrow and the machine gun and all that. It's dude, he's a badass in that one. The first one, he's just a troubled guy who's fighting, again, a bunch of corrupted cops. And then a great example, too, where everyone will say that, everyone will say...
when he squeezes the microphone, they have the close-up on his hand? I'm coming for you.
Oh, yeah.
Murdoch. I used to do that to my buddy James. I don't know if he watches the podcast, but I used to leave messages. That's how sick a person I am. I used to just leave a message on his voicemail. I knew he wouldn't answer the phone certain times of the day. So I would just call him up and leave a voicemail that was like, Murdoch, I'm coming for you.
That's funny.
There's something wrong with me. I know, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, coming from the guy with a turkey hat on, like, there is definitely something going on here. This, I don't know what's going on. I got no heat coming from the side, no heat from the basement. This is just ridiculous. But yeah, it's absurd.
That's funny. But then a key example. By the way, I've watched this franchise. I've at least been exposed to it since I was a kid, but I didn't fully watch the movie until I was like maybe 8 or 10 of this franchise I'm about to mention. But I can tell you, I don't know what that feedback is coming from. Is that you?
Is that me?
I don't know. I hear like a little squealing, but okay.
Oh, that would be the space heater underneath us. You hear that little That's what
you don't hear. Okay, maybe my ears are just ringing, but but anyway, before I lose this track,
this is what happens when you're in a sub-zero terrain. Your ears start like popping and everything else. Oh, that's what that is. It's running out now. Your heater's
now it's right. Yeah.
Okay. We got about 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, before you literally see frost on our faces. Yeah. I definitely got to fix the heater downstairs.
We will eventually. So, but a key example of where a sequel is better than the original. And I have not, in the entire time, my 30 years of being on this planet, going on 31, I have not heard a contrary opinion to this. Like, where the first one's better than the sequel. And that's Terminator. Everyone will say that Terminator 2 is just better than the first one. Not to say the first one's bad by any means.
No, that's not what you're saying.
One,
I agreed.
But 2
and I agree with that.
Is just phenomenal. And I just showed my girlfriend, and she agreed with that too.
T2 is a good movie.
It's truly fantastic.
Really
and you know what's crazy is how they foreshadow. I gotta tell you, they foreshadow a little bit of stuff in there. Like they say, like the spending bill gets passed. AI, like artificial intelligence grows. When they try to shut it down, it gets the knowledge that it's about to be shut down, so it feels threatened. It rebels back, and then it takes over. And then they say they attack Russia and all that. I'm like, gee, this sounds like modern times. It's like a little fiction. Now, I'm not saying
it sounds like.
I'm not saying that if Ukraine
could take place now.
Yeah. Well, at the rate that AI is going now, and that's actually my problem with, and we can probably talk about that in a little bit too, but that is I don't want to say it's foreshadowing, like, if Russia wins the war, then, like, U.S. will strike. I don't believe that. So I don't think the events that took place in T2 leading to Judgment Day are going to happen. I don't think that. But given the current events at the rate AI is going and the war that is currently going on with Russia and Ukraine, I think I can, for a few minutes, say, hey, this kind of reminds me of what's going on in current events for a movie that came out in the 90s. I think it was 1990, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But, no, it's just, so, like, there's an example of where I have not heard a Terminator fan say that they like one better than two. So, I think it is true. Now, I can think of many examples where I like the sequel better than the original, but T2 is, like, the gold standard. This is how you do a sequel compared to the original, like, how you improve beyond that point. I also think...
What do you think if AI took over, which I think is a likely scenario? What if it takes over and the only form of news information and medium is this barn? It's the only one that's not affected. So everybody would need to come to these two individuals for news information about present day society. Oh my God, what if that happened? Boy, we've hit another rock bottom with that philosophy. All right, never mind that. I don't even want to think about the responsibility for being the world's news.
Oh God, that just sounds like that. Just
because we're so primitive with our our system here of delivering content that everybody else would be affected because they all use
Well, there's
some form of modern technology.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing this up a little bit because it actually reminds me of a quote from Terminator 2, and I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I called my dad about this just because I love his insight on things, even if I don't fully agree with him on everything. I just think what he says is fascinating, and that's actually, you know what? That's the other thing I wanted to talk about, and we can segue into this, and that's, quotes from movies that can relate to real life. Terminator 2 has a line, and I got to thinking because of my faith. There's a line said in Terminator 2. I don't know how good your memory is when it comes to remembering every aspect of the movie, but there's that scene where John sees the two kids playing with the toy guns, and he eventually asks the T-101, we don't make it, do we? And he said, and the T-101 says, it's in your nature to destroy yourselves. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, that relates to our fallen nature. I mean, our fallen nature as human beings, and the people who think they're doing the right thing, if someone disagrees, that leads to war. And I like that, and just to sneak a tiny little bit of politics in there, just for like 30 seconds, I like what Jordan Peterson said once when he was in a GQ interview in 2018. Can't believe what he said has actually come to transpire, but that's a topic for another time. And one of the things he said was, the idea of multiculturalism implies the idea, I'm paraphrasing this, but I think it's exactly what he was trying to convey to the audience. And that's when he said that multiculturalism implies the idea that two groups of people are willing to play by the same rule sets. And if that were the case, the world wouldn't be full of war. And it's like, he's right. Because that is what happens. And then, so I like that. And then there's another quote, and I want to hear what you have to say about this, Fletcher. And the reason why I like this question is because I've got 20 different answers from this. And I love what every one of them has to say. Even, guess what? You'll like my dad's response because he attributed it to sports. My apologies. Gotta clear the throat. And I showed my son, my wonderful 5-year-old boy, I finally showed him the first two Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Oh, yeah.
And he, he likes them, but he was mainly interested in the parts where, he puts on the suit and is swinging around and kicking butt, But there is a quote from the first Spider-Man. It's one of my favorite scenes of all time of cinema because it applies to real life. You can say it was foreshadowing for No Way Home. Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. And that's when Goblin, puts Spider-Man to sleep. He's in paralysis. And he just has that monologue and that conversation with Spider-Man. And he's like, we're the same, you and me. And Spider-Man's like, we're not. You're a murderer. And he's like, well, I chose my path. You chose your path of the hero. And they found you amusing for a while, the people of this city. But the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. And I want to ask you, Fletch, when you hear the Goblin telling Spider-Man something like that, when you hear that, what goes through your head of, if he's right, why do you think he's right? And I want to know your perception on that. What do you take from that?
It's a powerful phrase. It's a powerful quote. I agree with it to a point. I don't think heroes have to, but it's a sad indictment and testimony about culture, society, and most importantly, people. Because that is how a lot of people are. They would rather see you fail. In life, in my personal story, in my life, I've had friends that have wanted to, which turned out not to be friends. Because if you're somebody's friend or you're a family member, you would want to see your friend or family member happy and successful, but they wanted to see me fail. They did things to me like that like really stymied my life and provided obstacles and made my life terrible, like in some certain situations, like some of the women that I dated. So yeah, there's a lot of validity to the statement by a madman like the Goblin, which is the Green Goblin is nuts. I mean, he gets overtaken by madness, but yeah, that's a pretty powerful statement because there's such validity in that, and there's such you can observe and you can identify with that statement about current day society, because everybody wants everybody else to fail. That's why you got people like that are cheering, and doing street parades that Charlie Kirk died. I mean, that's just one example. We don't have to go into that whole
We just
situation.
had an episode talking about that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like,
which, by the
why would you cheer, even if you didn't agree with the guy's politics? Why would you be cheering that he died? Like, I mean, it's just crazy. But that goes back to that Goblin statement of, they like you at the beginning, they love you, but eventually they'll hate you. And I don't understand that, but it's a real statement about humanity. It's a real statement about people. Our present culture is very much like that. That's a great phrase that you brought up that I completely forgot about in that Spider-Man movie.
Well, it's just, I think it's one that gets overlooked so easily because when you're so used to the hero's journey and, the good guy being the bad guy, it's a quote that overlooks you when you first watch it. But when I watched it, I want to say a few years ago when, this was shortly after No Way Home came out. Here's what happened. No Way Home came out. My fiance at the time and I and, a couple friends, we all went to go see it. And then after that, I found out that my fiance at the time had not watched movies like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So we rewatched the Tobey Maguire ones, and the Amazing Spider-Man ones. And then my current girlfriend, Morgan, she had not watched any of the Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'd like to watch them. And I'm like, hey, why don't we all arrange a hangout? A couple buddies come over, they come over, and we'll watch them together.
Good idea.
So I showed her the first two. Like one day it was one, and then I think another time it was two again, and then the rest is history. But I remember at one point watching it, I'm like, wow. And I think there was a lot of validity in that statement. I started asking more people, and the answers I got, again, what I love about this question is I can get a different answer from everybody. And that's, one is, my one buddy said, what do you get when you hear a statement like that? And he said, well, let me put it to you this way. Government doesn't like vigilantes because they are above what they perceive to be the law. Mm-hmm. So they all they want to do, regardless of the good they do, they want to go by their rules, and if they don't, what happens is the vigilante exposes the brokenness within the government, wherever that may be. It doesn't have to, pertain to America. And then one is when my ex-fiance said, well, here's another good example. What role do people like playing the best in a movie or TV show? It's the villain. Like, most people will say it's the villain that I like playing the best because they can let loose. They don't have to follow the formula of good guy upholds X values and
correct.
I come in and save the day and the rest is history. And then another one, and here's why, so you'll like what my dad said, you'll like this, and you might even 100% agree, is look at what happens with football teams. When a football team wins all the time, they eventually start getting hated. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They win
Back
a lot.
In the day, current team that exemplifies that are the Kansas City Chiefs. This year, they're having an off year. They've went to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, I believe. Is it 5 of the last 6? Or I'm pretty sure 4 of the last 5. Yeah, they're having an off year. They have a losing record this year.
And let me guess that
everybody's super happy. Like, they're happy that the Chiefs have fallen. So, I mean, yeah, that's a great point, great question, great commentary on that. Like, anything else? Like, because I know we're, like, short on time a little bit.
I can't really say anything else. I guess the last thing I want to touch on...
What is it? Let's finish it with this. We'll each give a interpretation. What is your best example of original movie that you think the sequel. I know we both have numerous.
Sure,
but where you think the sequel is that much better. Not that you had to dislike
the first one or anything.
The first one at all. But what is your example, so to speak, of
like a second movie of a franchise? So like between 1 and 2. So like even if it's part of a franchise, you want to talk about like where did the second one do better than the first one?
Correct.
You know, there's quite, believe it or not, and people will disagree with me. There are I think there are more movies I think that sequels are better than originals than most people. Like I guarantee my list of it, people might agree with like 5% of it, if I'm going to be honest. Like, let's be real. I think most people are probably going to disagree with you and I when it comes to, you know, nobody 2 being better than 1. I don't know anybody that's watched that movie.
Sure.
But, you know, that's where I would say the sequel's better than first. But I love 1 anyway. But I think a point where, and I know it's a modern example, and I could probably think of other examples soon. I'll probably talk about it for a minute or two. I think a key example of where a movie started out something and it became popular, I thought it was a cool concept, and 2 did, in my opinion, everything better. Like if the first one's an 8 out of 10, this one's like a 9.5 out of 10. In fact, you actually have it right there on the blanket, is John Wick. I do think John Wick 2 is significantly better than 1. And it's not because I don't like 1. It's a great flick. I just think the villain who started the whole thing was some rich entitled brat, who was like, now if it was his dad that started the whole thing, I would be like, okay, like, all right, that's cool, and maybe 1 would stand up to 2. But I think that based on that premise alone, but the introduction of great characters in 2, like 1 had good characters, but 2 added even more good characters and demonstrating who they really are. Like you saw Winston, I think somewhat in 1, like you saw him, but I think they improved on him. They improved on John. You learned more of his backstory. They introduced Lawrence Fishburne's character. There was more humor in there. They referenced the classic story of, you know, I saw John Wick kill 3 men with a pencil. They brought that story to life in the second movie. The kills are more brutal in the second one. And also Common's character, Cassian.
That's it.
I think that was just brilliant. I think I think what it is too is, so I'm a very visual person. You know, I respect people who read books. I own a book that I want to read. It's called Provoked. Scott Horn, shout out to you. Everyone should purchase that book. It's the best book on the Russia-Ukraine war. So there's a little plug there. But I'm a very big visual creature. I analyze things that I think that most people are not going to talk about. And in particular scene, you said, oh yeah, I remember you referenced this when we just rewatched John Wick 2, about I think 2 weeks ago, I believe it was at this point. A particular scene is when the lighting, like when he was sent to kill the Santino D'Antonio's sister, and he walks away, the lighting in the background that shows him walking out, and when the people are chasing after him, and he goes onto that concert, the flashing lights are everywhere, and in the middle of that, you just see him shoot someone, and everyone cheers. I think the music and the filming behind that is just phenomenal. And I think that the fact that they did all that made it was just improved. And even, guess what? Even critics agree with me saying that, like, even people who don't like 3 and 4 as much as 1 and 2, I've seen some people have that ranking, they'll say, all right, John Wick 2 is definitely a better movie than 1.
Yeah.
So I think if I'd pick 1, just to keep it short and sweet, I would say John Wick 2 is the key example of how you make a sequel better than the original. Do you have another one?
I would say, like, all-time movies, I'm a big fan of Godfather 2 over Godfather 1.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard a little mix. Like, some people say, oh, I like the first one the best. And then some people will say, I like the second
Most
one.
people will tell you the original. I don't know if it's nostalgic. I don't know if it's just because they've been told that. It's almost like being told what to think. I just think 2 is slightly better. I enjoy 1. I think it's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
But I go with Godfather 2 in terms of like what did I like? What did I like a little bit more? I thought the characters were a little more developed. I liked how the plot moved a little bit more fluently in 2 than it did in 1. But that's beside the point. I mean, that would be an old time movie, a more current movie, or a movie franchise that I would pick 2 over 1. I don't know. I mean, for time's sake, we don't have to get into that because I mean it's already.
Well, just say one. Just say one.
I actually like. I'm a big fan of. It's one of my favorite movies. It's the one I play all the time. I think the second Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. Game of Shadows is much better than the original. I mean, it's like for me, it's not even close. But a lot of people would say just because of the fact. Oh my God, Robert Downey Jr. did such an amazing job.
He did.
Holmes.
I love those movies.
You know,
it's been a
like,
long time since I've watched them.
And it's like, okay, the first one's just automatically, which is what we were talking about. It's like the original, okay, what are we going to discuss? Like, most people would just say, oh, the original's the best because it's the original. And it's like, well, Game of Shadows has a scene, the chess scene at the end, how the story comes together at the end when Robert Downey Jr. sits down and literally details to Kenneth Branagh, Moriarty, like what he has done over the past like 3 weeks to basically undermine and sabotage Moriarty's plan is just it's an amazing 5 minutes of any movie I've ever seen. I've watched it probably 20 times and I still get the biggest thrill from watching Game of Shadows as I did the first time I saw it.
That sounds like me in Star Wars Episode 3, if I'm being honest.
Right.
Or something like, even Signs, even though it's, underrated and, whatever. That's how I feel. And actually, so it's been a long time and I was a teenager. I never knew what Sherlock Holmes movie I liked better. And talking about the Robert Downey Jr. ones anyway, just talking about those 2 specifically. I never knew which one I liked better. I always felt, and again, maybe this is my youth, things can change instantly. From what I remember from each movie, I love both movies equally. I remember both of them fairly well. Like, I remember one being, I think, more comedic than 2. I don't know if you disagree or not, but I think it found more comedic than 2. And I think it had a more concentrated plot. But what I love about 2 was the introduction of Moriarty, because he was only in the second movie, right? Moriarty. They foreshadow. They give the idea of the character in 1, but he never actually appears. Right.
Yeah.
But what I do,
which is a great way to introduce a character and keep an audience wanting to know who that character is.
Yeah.
Which is why 2 is so cool.
But what I do remember liking about 2, and I've told you before, and I'll tell the audience, and we can leave on this note. Again, I'm a big visual person. That slow-mo running scene in the forest in the second movie,
dude, that's
absolute breathtaking cinematography right there.
That is one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
Whoever filmed that scene. And I don't even have it full. All I remember was, the 3, I think it was the 3 people running. But the way they filmed the slow-mo, their zoomed in faces, and the explosions taking place, I'm like, that was terrifically done. And they do it in
slow-mo fashion. It's an awesome scene.
Yeah, and I want to rewatch. I gotta rewatch those soon, honestly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to eat. I'm gonna go warm up,
and I gotta go pick up my boy.
My inner core temperature has now dropped to a reptilian level. I think I'm about the equivalent of an alligator right at the moment. Leather skin and just cold blood. But we'll come back next week. We're going to have some fun stuff to talk about.
This was a lot of fun. We missed you guys.
But there's going to be some more stuff coming out, so we'll do a whole episode. Well, maybe not a whole episode, but a good portion about TPUSA. There's a lot of corruption going on with Charlie Kirk's organization. It's mind-boggling. I have some numbers here to tell you guys about it, and it really makes me sad. It doesn't make me upset. It makes me really sad that Kirk's legacy of the the organization that he founded to change the world, basically, and especially with a focus on this country, is just completely corrupt, like the U.S. government, just like everything else. So,
which is crazy. And guess what? We're also, what we should do for next, on the topic of what we just been talking about this entire time. We should dedicate an entire segment or episode dedicated towards Christmas theme.
Yes,
because it will be the weekend before Christmas, and who knows how filming's going to be, because you guys know how the holidays are. Who's going to tune into a podcast the weekend after Christmas?
We'll talk about Christmas movies. We'll talk about great Christmas memories.
Having debate on what is an actual Christmas movie as opposed to what's not not a Christmas movie, but less of one. So
I have a lot of great Christmas memories. We should do a podcast on
let's
Christmas
do that.
memories, like famous Christmas memories. Like when I was little, I crapped my pants, and when I was older, I had intercourse on Christmas. So
that's it.